So I've been riding the Royal Enfield Classic 350 for the last 3 months. I've very generously had this bike on loan from those nice people at Royal Enfield. The question is, would I buy one myself? Stick around and stay tuned. I'll let you know what I think. Hey kids, it's Mr. McFly here, hope you're well, and welcome back to the channel, and for a sort of a bit of a sum up really on the Royal Enfield Classic 350, a bike that I've liked ever since it came out a couple of years ago. It has got classic looks, it looks amazing, particularly this lovely brown colour that I've got, and it's one of those bikes that I've thought, you know, if I had room I would definitely add it to the collection. Well, now having lived with it for 3 months, ridden it in all sorts of weathers and all sorts of conditions, how do I feel about it now? Would I actually spend my own money on one? Well, I thought I'd take the opportunity on this, one of my final rides on the bike. It's a Saturday morning, I've got Mrs. Flower behind me on her 125. We're off out for a breakfast. I thought it'd be a great opportunity to sort of give you my final thoughts on the bike and whether I'd splash out my hard-earned on one. So this is a lovely little place. I can't remember what it's called, but it's got a lovely green. I think it's called Tyler's Green actually. This is probably the green at Tyler's Green. And we're heading off to a village or town called Cookham, which is sort of on the way towards Maidenhead, where I've discovered a new little cafe. And I went there the other day for a sarnie, and I thought, you know what, this would be a good place to come with Mrs. Flower on one of our ride-outs. So I've got a treble challenge. I don't want to lose Mrs. Flower, who's following me, so I'm watching her in the mirror. I'm trying to record this video, and I'm trying to record or remember the route. So if I get my words wrong, or I make an error, that's why. I'm thinking about 3 things at once. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it's down this way. It's a lovely ride round here. It's all very urban, but there are some nice spots we go through, as I shall show you. Having said that, I think I've gone wrong. Let's do a little bit of a turn round. Good practice for Mrs. Flower on her turning round capabilities. Sorry, Mrs. Flower, nothing behind. Just shows you this multitasking game. It's not as easy as I make it look. Alright, so my thoughts on the Classic 350 then. Well, number one, I would still say I still love the bike. There's nothing about the bike, having lived with it for a while, that's kind of put me off it. I think it's a great little thing. There are a couple of major things that have changed the landscape since I've had it. The first one is I've come to appreciate just quite how low powered this bike is. It puts out something like 20 brake horsepower, which is just not quite enough, to be honest. Now, you're not expecting a 350cc bike to be super quick or anything like that. I completely get that, and I wasn't expecting that of this. But due to its sort of architecture, it's air-cooled, old school, that kind of thing, it hasn't got a lot of horsepower, and whilst that's fine for poodling around in the urban environment, all these back roads like I'm doing here today, once you do get out on dual carriageways, it's just not quite enough. And then the second thing that's kind of uppermost in my mind when I'm considering this bike and whether I would buy one, when I say the landscape has changed, of course the new Triumph 400s have come out and have been selling like hotcakes for the last couple of months. In fact, I think in January they were the best selling big bike in the country, taken over from the GS, which has been top of the pile for a long time, so that's quite something. And those bikes, although they are more expensive than the Classic, and they are of course a different sort of bike, they're a much more modern looking and feeling bike. I imagine I haven't ridden one yet, but I'm guessing. But those put out twice the horsepower at 400cc, and they're about I think 600 quid more expensive if you go for the road version, the 400, Speed 400 I think it's called. So when you're looking for value for money, and then take it into the, you know, the equation that I said that I felt this was just a little bit too low powered, I think those Triumphs make more sense. So without having ridden one yet, so it's a bit outrageous of me to even suggest this, I think that if I were in the market for a smaller capacity bike for poodling around the lanes and maybe doing the urban jungle, then my money would be on the Triumph, because they look good, they've just got that bit more power, and they're very well made. When I had a couple in to borrow a few months back to look at pre-production versions, they did look really good even then. That said, if you like the classic looks of the Classic over the Triumph, and you've no intention of doing anything except riding on slower roads, then absolutely put your money on the classic 350. There's nothing else about it that I don't like. Alright, we're just coming through some of the posher areas now. As we make our way towards Beaconsfield. There's some lovely houses around here, as you'll see as we ride through. Nice new one here. What they do down these roads, there's an awful lot of money in this area, is basically if there's a nice plot, they'll knock down a perfectly good house that probably costs £4 million anyway, and build another on it just so it looks a bit newer and a bit fancier than the one next door. Now, I might be doing these people a huge disservice, whoever lives around here, but I think there's probably a bit of an element of keeping up with the Joneses around here. Little glance behind. I've got a car on my tail giving me trouble, but I'm doing 40 miles an hour. It is a 40 mile an hour road, and I can see Mrs. Flyer is behind that, so I ain't going to be going any quicker, so you'll have to just wait. But yeah, regardless of the keeping up with the Joneses thing, or whatever the motivation is, it is lovely around here. I think technically this place is called Penn Street. It leads into New Beaconsfield, and I'm told Beaconsfield is the place in the country outside of central London that has the most expensive real estate. There are more £1 million houses here than anywhere else in the country, and you'd be very lucky to find anything around here for less than £1 million. Quite a few celebs and people like that live in this area, and I can understand why. Right, this car behind me is annoying me. I'm just going to pull over, let him overtake me. So I'm back in group with Mrs. Flyer. Right, there she is. Lots of people have been asking how Mrs. Flyer's getting on with her riding. Well, as you can see, she's out and about with me. We're enjoying riding together. We tend to come out if we can on a weekend, or indeed in the week, and get a little cheeky breakfast in if the weather's okay. So that's exactly what we're doing today. People keep asking, is she going to do a licence or whatever? Well, you know, there's no rush, is there? While we're enjoying the bike, that's the main thing. So we shall see how that goes in the long term. Alright, I've got to think about my routing now. We're coming up into New Beaconsfield. Then I've got to do a little bit of a shimmy, so I'll speak to you again in a second. Alrighty, so wind on a few minutes. We've come through New Beaconsfield, which isn't that picturesque, to be fair. If you keep going through New Beaconsfield, you end up here, Old Beaconsfield, which is a lot more pleasant. As you'll see, it's a lovely old town. It's strange around here this is South Buckinghamshire, by the way, in the UK, in case you're wondering. And we have a lot of towns around here that have both an old and a new element, and that's mainly because when they were building the London Underground, they extended it out a long way west, out this way, or towards this way. And many of the old towns where the railway was going to go near and sort of serve weren't ideally situated for the train station, so the train stations on the new line tended to be somewhere else, and that spawned the new towns, or the new version of the town, being developed in that area. That's certainly the case in Beaconsfield here, and the case in Amersham. Now Beaconsfield is on the main line, so that's but it was originally going to be on the underground. Amersham, of course, is still on the underground, which is incredible because Amersham tube station is about 30 miles west of central London, but it's very handy for us that live around here. And again, one of the reasons why this area is quite expensive to live is because it's very handy for not only getting to motorways but also getting into London on the train. Anyway, I've got to concentrate on the route. Just thought I'd show you Old Beaconsfield. Speak to you in a moment. Okay, so in my excitement to get to this new cafe, and I explained earlier that I was doing 3 things at once: filming, watching Mrs. Flyer, and trying to work out the route, I've gone wrong again. So I've missed out some particularly picturesque parts for you, so sorry about that. Maybe we'll catch them on the way back. I'm doing this route in the reverse order to what I've done it before, which is why I'm finding it complicated. Anyway, we're now heading towards a place called Bourne End. Again, nice spot. And then we join into Cookham. I'm not sure if we've crossed the river yet. There's a nice crossing when you do, which I'd like to show you. In fact, I'm not even sure we go over it, so I'll shut up. Anyway, Cookham's this way. It says so on the signs. Let's just follow those. Many bikes out this morning enjoying a bit of spring dry riding. Nice to see. And just up here I think is that crossing I was referring to, and there's an absolutely stunning house on the right of the crossing, which probably in this direction you won't see, but it's my favourite house in this whole area, but we may not see it. I have a feeling the river we're going to, well, I know the river we're going to cross is the River Thames, and I suspect, that's a nice Maserati, I have a feeling the river we're going to cross at the Thames is actually the border into Berkshire, so I suspect Cookham is in Berkshire. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. So this is the house on the right here. It's got some work being done, unfortunately you can't see it. It's tucked behind there. Maybe when we come back we'll do a slightly different route back, but we might get a view of it later. It's just nestled on the river here, and it is just a stunning place. Let's see if I can have a look. So it's down there on the right. Can you just see the parts of it there? Try not to go into the van in front of me. It's that one on the river. What a stunner. Nice. Nice looking restaurant here called the Ferry. Never bother going in it is my advice. Maybe I caught it on a bad day. So how lovely is this? This is the beautiful little town of Cookham. So we're going to go and park the bikes up, then we're going to walk down there and find ourselves a cafe. Speak to you in a mo. And there she is, the classic 350, looking resplendent in the sunshine. Right, we'll get Mrs. Flyer backed up, see if we can get your wheels close to mine and we'll lock them together. Right, speak in a mo. Well, what a treat to be out on a sunny day. Look at that, we've managed to get the bikes locked together. We're not in Japan now. We've got to make sure that things are nice and secure. Not that I imagine for one moment the people of Cookham are likely to steal a couple of small motorcycles, wouldn't you think?
No, but visitors to Cookham might.
Well, that's a very good point. We are visitors ourselves, of course. So we're going to have to go and find ourselves a bit of a brecco, if we can. Something a little bit healthy, I think. Now the sun's out. Hey, we could even sit in the garden. What do you think of the ride, anyway? Good?
Yeah, it was fine until you took me down single track lanes with oncoming traffic and hairpin bends. And
that's what it's all about, though, isn't it? Right, let's go and find the cafe. So we found ourselves a tea shop. It's called the Teapot Tea Shop. Whoops. And it's actually doesn't open till 10, and we got it at 5:02, so we're a little bit overzealous. But anyway, what do you fancy, Mrs. F?
I'm having coffee and scrambled egg.
Well, that sounds very healthy. I'll see if I join her in something as healthy as that in a moment. It's going to turn into a bit of a biker scran episode, I think, isn't it? But no Jeff and Dan.
Oh no.
Sorry, you two.
No humour either.
Right, the healthy orders have turned up. Check this out. Ta-ta. Note, poached eggs. And Mrs. Flyer's gone for the scrambled egg. Looks good though, doesn't it?
Looks lovely.
So, bon appetit. So there we go. That was a cracking breakfast, wasn't it? And what's the place called? The Teapot Tea Shop in Cookham.
Cakes look great.
It was all good, wasn't it? Absolute winner. Healthy too. Poached eggs. Brilliant. Right, back on the bikes. Right, well, thank you, Cookham, and thank you, the little Teapot Cafe, or whatever it was called. I'll definitely be back there. Fantastic. The only downside was the price. It was 30 quid, that breakfast, which, it was lovely. That's the 30 quid for the two of us, by the way, not just for one. But round here, that sort of money's nothing. What a lovely spot though, eh? Alright, so back over the border, the River Thames, and now on the left now is that lovely house I was talking about earlier. Look at that big villa there. What a spot, eh, in the sunshine. That's worth a few bob. They wouldn't mind spending 30 quid on a breakfast in Cookham. And there we go, back out of posh Berkshire and back into Buckinghamshire, which is where we live. Right, nice little route back. I'll show you the bit that I missed out when we came in. Alrighty, this is the place that I missed when we rode in. I cut the corner and I wanted to show you this. This is called Woburn Green. It's a lovely little spot. Some nice pubs here. And an excellent little Italian just over the green over there where the lights are, if you can see it with the camera. Nice pub here as well. All these places tend to sort of run into each other, so it's not a fantastic motorcycling route, but just really lovely little towns that do run into each other around here. And what an absolute treat to see the sun shining. The forecast is that it's going to be cold and wet again next week, so we thought we should come out when we could. So there we go, that's pretty much it for this, probably what is going to be my final ride on the Royal Enfield Classic 350. Huge thanks to Royal Enfield for lending the bike to me for such a long period of time. Really enjoyed riding it. I don't love it any less than when I asked to borrow the bike in the first place. It's just, as I say, the landscape has changed slightly, in that there are now other options available at similar prices. And for the sort of riding that we did today, there's really no better bike. But if you do want to get onto dual carriageways and the odd faster bit of road, then it does run out of a bit of puff. But other than that, what a beautiful looking thing, and what a great value bike. So yeah, still a big thumbs up from me on the Royal Enfield Classic 350. But to answer my own question, would I spend my own money on one? Probably not on this occasion, but that's no reflection on the bike, I have to say. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed that little video. A bit of a weird mix of breakfast ride out come bike review. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share, like, all that good YouTubey stuff. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. Flyer. Cheerio.
Hey kids, we're the Missing the Flyers.
Now that's a nice Beaconsfield car. Check that out. Let's hear what she sounds like when the lights go green. Not giving it the beans. Very civilised. And once you're out of all the lovely delights of Beaconsfield and Cookham, you get into the tremendous Chilterns. Look at this. Gorgeous out here today. And what a tremendous road this is as well. Oh, I've missed my turn. Left there, Carol. This is where the Classic 350 comes into its own. These lovely little lanes round the back roads, enjoying the sunshine and just simple motorcycling. Superb.